The challenge, the Galactic Hall of Power, was never quiet. It was a place of constant noise, deals being made, arguments shouted across marble floors, and leaders from 100 species trying to prove they were the most important voice in the galaxy. But today, the hall was silent. All eyes were on the grand platform in the center, where the Emperor of the Galactic Empire stood. His golden robes shimmered under the light, and his crown reflected 100 tiny stars. He raised his hand for attention. "My friends," the Emperor said in a deep, commanding voice, "there is a dangerous problem in our galaxy. The humans, these Terrans, these upstart newcomers, think their fleet is mighty. They believe they can match the glory of the Empire." A ripple of whispers moved through the hall. The Emperor's voice grew louder. "So I, Emperor Karis of the Galactic Empire, issue a challenge. The Terran fleet will face the Imperial fleet in neutral space. No tricks, no allies, just our strength against theirs." He spread his arms wide. "And when we win, the galaxy will know who truly rules the stars." At first, there was silence. Then some alien delegates clapped politely. Others exchanged nervous glances. A few looked worried. They remembered stories of Terran battles, of impossible victories and fleets that moved like living machines. Still, the Emperor looked confident. His lips curved into a smug smile. News of the challenge spread faster than any ship could travel. By the next day, it was on every galactic news channel. The Hala anchors repeated the announcement over and over. Galactic Empire challenges. Terran fleet, duel in neutral space set for 1 standard month from now. On Earth, people reacted very differently. In the Terran fleet's headquarters, Admiral Cole sat in his office, watching the broadcast on a small screen. The Emperor's speech ended, and the camera returned to the anchor. Cole leaned back in his chair and let out a quiet laugh. "Is he serious?" he asked. His second-in-command, Captain Marichan, was already grinning. "Apparently, the Emperor thinks we're going to panic." Cole shook his head. "I've seen the Imperial fleet. Big, shiny, and slow. This won't be a fight. This will be entertainment." Within hours, the Terran fleet's internal comms were full of jokes. Someone made a poster showing an Imperial warship stuck in a parking dock. Another officer started a betting pool on how long the battle would last. The shortest time guess was 30 seconds. The longest was 4 minutes. The Emperor had wanted to scare humanity. Instead, he had given them something to laugh about. But not everyone in the galaxy found it funny. In the star systems near the neutral zone, alien merchants started moving their trade ships far from the area. They didn't want to be anywhere near the battlefield. Refugees from smaller colonies worried about what might happen if the fight spread beyond the designated area. One news network interviewed a historian who specialized in Terran wars. His warning was simple: do not mistake Terran humor for weakness. If the Empire pushes them, they will push back hard. Back in the Imperial Palace, the Emperor received a report from his spies. "They aren't mobilizing like normal before a war," the spy said. "They're not gathering all their fleets. They're setting up camera drones." The Emperor frowned. "Camera drones?" "Yes," the spy confirmed. "They are planning to broadcast the entire event to the galaxy, live." The Emperor's frown deepened. He wanted to humiliate humanity, not the other way around. But the challenge had been made, and if he backed down now, the galaxy would see him as weak. On the other side of the galaxy, Admiral Cole held a meeting with his senior officers. A huge 3D map of the neutral zone floated in the air between them. "Neutral. Space here," Cole said, pointing at the glowing section in the middle. "They'll probably line up in classic Imperial formation. Looks intimidating, but it's predictable. We'll bring in one task force first. Make them think we're small. Then we bring in the rest, all at once. Captain Chun smirked. And how much power do we actually use? Cole grinned. Enough to make a point. No need to destroy them completely, just enough so the galaxy sees how ridiculous this was. By the end of the week, memes flooded the galactic net. One showed an Imperial battleship covered in training wheels. Another showed the Emperor holding a "Please don't hurt us" sign. Even alien species who feared both sides were quietly laughing. The laugh heard. Around the galaxy, the Emperor of the Galactic Empire expected fear. When he announced the challenge to the Terran fleet, he imagined panic on Earth, desperate mobilization, and worried messages from the Terran government. Instead, he got laughter across the Terran colonies. The news spread like wildfire. In mining stations orbiting icy moons, workers gathered in mess halls to watch the Emperor's speech. When he finished, the room stayed silent for a beat, and then erupted in laughter. On Earth, news anchors replayed his words with exaggerated dramatic music, turning the announcement into a late-night comedy segment in the Terran fleet's officer lounges. Someone had already started making mock posters. Galactic Empire vs. Terran fleet. Tickets free, snacks not included. Another poster read, Imperial fleet, shiny and slow since 3201. The memes didn't stop there. A popular Terran comedian released a short holosketch pretending to be the Emperor, holding a giant "Please notice me" sign. It went viral in under 2 hours. Even alien traders, usually cautious about politics, started sharing Terran jokes. On the interstellar network, the Empire might have been feared before, but now they were being laughed at in the Terran fleet headquarters. Admiral Cole leaned over a table surrounded by his top officers. A 3D display of the neutral zone rotated slowly in the air. "They think we're taking this seriously," he said, a small smile on his lips. "We are," Captain Marichon replied. "Just not in the way they expect." Cole tapped the display. "We'll bring in one vanguard group first. Make them think that's all we have. Then, when they're feeling confident, the rest of the fleet drops in at once. I want them to feel the weight of every ship we have." "And the broadcast?" one officer asked. "Full coverage," Cole said. "Every angle, every moment, streaming live to the galaxy. If they want a spectacle, we'll give them one, just not the one they imagined." Meanwhile, in the Imperial Palace, the Emperor was not smiling. Reports from spies painted an alarming picture. "They are laughing at us," one intelligence officer said, clearly nervous. The Emperor's voice was sharp. "Laughing?" "Yes, Your Grace. Jokes, broadcasts, betting pools. Some are saying the battle will be over before you finish your first order." The Emperor slammed his fist against the table. "Arrogant primitives. They'll choke on that laughter soon enough." But the damage was already done. In the weeks before the battle, the phrase, "This will be quick," Admiral Cole's joking comment from a leaked meeting, became a trending slogan across the galaxy. Merchants sold shirts, mugs, and even spaceship decals with the words printed on them. Some alien diplomats began privately questioning the Emperor's decision to issue the challenge at all. Back on the Iron Horizon, the Terran flagship, preparations were casual. Crews trained, but there was no frantic rush. Ships were polished and repainted, weapons tuned to perfection. Some officers joked it felt less like preparing for a war and more like getting ready for a parade. One young ensign, staring out at the rows of Terran warships in dock, muttered to himself, "They have no idea what's coming." A week before the battle, the Terran fleet released an official statement. "We accept the Emperor's challenge. The event will be broadcast across all galactic channels. Snacks are recommended." The message ended with a slow, deliberate wink from Admiral Cole. The clip spread instantly. Every time it played, Laughter followed. Even in the Empire's own territories, cracks were forming. Some Imperial citizens quietly admitted they were nervous. A few even sent anonymous messages to Terran contacts, wishing them luck or warning them about fleet positions. Arrival in neutral space was quiet, a stretch of stars with no homeworlds, no colonies, and no trade lanes. It was the perfect place for the duel between the Galactic Empire and the Terran fleet. The Empire arrived first. Thousands of gleaming warships cut across the void in perfect formation. Their golden hulls reflected the light of the nearest star, their banners bright against the darkness. From the Imperial flagship Sunfire throne, the Emperor watched his fleet with pride. This, he declared to his officers, is what power looks like. The ships arranged themselves into an intimidating wall, stretching from one end of the sector to the other. Imperial gunners stood ready, targeting systems locked on the coordinates where the Terran fleet was expected to appear. News drones hovered in space, broadcasting every angle to the galaxy. The Emperor wanted everyone to see this: the size, the discipline, the sheer force of the Empire. The first commentator's voice rang out over the broadcast. The Terrans have not yet arrived. Perhaps they're reconsidering? Then a ripple of light appeared at the edge of the sector. 1, 2, then 10 Terran ships emerged from hyperspace. The crowd of alien spectators watching from distant outposts whispered in confusion. That's all they brought? Maybe the rest couldn't make it in time? The Terran ships formed a loose, casual formation. Their hulls were dark and unpolished, the kind of design the Empire had long mocked as industrial junk. On the Sunfire throne, the Emperor smirked. "This will be over quickly," he said. One of his admirals leaned closer. "Shall we move in for the kill?" "Not yet," the Emperor replied. "Let them try something first. It will make their defeat more humiliating." On the iron horizon, Admiral Cole leaned back in his chair, looking almost bored. Beside him, Captain Mara Chun checked her console. "Vanguard in position," she said. "They've taken the bait." Cole's lips twitched into a grin. Time for the main act. Bring them in. A moment later, space itself seemed to tear open. Dozens of massive Terran battleships burst from hyperspace, followed by cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and wave after wave of fighter craft. It didn't stop. The Empire's sensors went wild, struggling to count the arrivals. 100 ships, 200, 300. Still more came. The golden wall of Imperial ships now faced something far larger, a Terran fleet that stretched so far into the distance it was impossible to see its end. Their dark hulls formed a silent shadow across the stars, blocking out entire constellations. On the Sunfire throne, the Emperor's smirk faded. What is this?" he demanded. An officer stammered. They didn't bring their whole fleet, Your Grace. This is just part of it." Across the galaxy, commentators shouted over each other. "We were expecting a small skirmish." "That is not a skirmish. That's an invasion force." Alien spectators stared in disbelief. Many were already recording clips to replay later, sensing they were witnessing history. On the iron horizon, Cole leaned forward. "Let them look. Let them count. Let them feel small." Captain Sean grinned. "They already do." The Terran fleet didn't rush forward. They simply held position, calm and silent, as if waiting for the Empire to make the first move. It was a statement. We're not in a hurry. You can go first. Some Terran pilots even switched on music broadcasts, letting their favorite songs bleed over open comm channels. The Imperial fleet, listening in, heard everything from rock guitar riffs to cheerful Terran folk songs. The Emperor's jaw tightened. "This isn't a duel," he muttered. "It's a joke," one of his admirals whispered. Under his breath, the Emperor pretended not to hear. The first move the standoff in neutral space stretched on. The Terran fleet floated in calm silence, their dark hulls swallowing starlight. The Imperial fleet glimmered like a golden wall, its banners drifting in the void. Billions across the galaxy watched through live broadcasts, holding their breath. The Imperial flagship Sunfire throne, an admiral broke the silence. "Your Grace, they are mocking us. They're not even moving into formation." The Emperor stared at the Terran ships on the main display. He could almost feel their quiet amusement. "Enough of this," he said sharply. "Signal the fleet. Fire on my mark." Across the Imperial armada, weapon systems powered up. Cannons glowed, missile bays opened, and the hum of energy filled the void. In the galaxy's live feeds, the commentators grew excited. "It looks like the Empire is going to strike first. This could decide the whole battle." On the Iron Horizon, Admiral Cole sat casually in his command chair. "They're about to shoot," Captain Naira Chung reported. Cole raised an eyebrow. "Finally, let's see what they've got." The Emperor's hand came down. "Fire!" The void lit up. Thousands of golden beams, plasma bolts, and missiles surged toward the Terran line. It was a display meant to overwhelm the senses, the kind of attack that had crushed countless enemies before. The Terran fleet didn't move. Shields flared faintly blue as the Imperial barrage slammed into them. Some bolts fizzled out on impact. Missiles exploded harmlessly against the shields, creating nothing but brief flashes of light. When the smoke and glare cleared, the Terran ships were still there, untouched. On the Sunfire throne, the Emperor's confident smile faltered. "Damage report?" he demanded. An officer swallowed hard. "Your Grace, they took no damage? No damage? Impossible." Back on the Iron Horizon, Cole leaned toward his comms officer. "Open a channel to the Empire." A moment later, the Emperor's face appeared on the Terran bridge display. Cole gave him a polite smile. "That was colorful. Are you done?" The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "You dare mock the—" Cole cut the channel with a wave of his hand. "All right," he said to his crew. "Let's return the favor." The Terran fleet came alive. Targeting systems locked, weapons charged, and fighters launched from carriers in perfect formations. They didn't rush. Every movement was deliberate, confident, and precise. The first volley was almost lazy. A few railgun shots here, a precision. Missile strike there, but the effect was devastating. Entire Imperial frigates vanished in bursts of fire. A destroyer's bridge was sliced clean off by a Terran beam weapon. Drifting into the void, the live broadcasts erupted with shock. The Terrans are barely trying, and the Imperial fleet is already breaking. On the Sunfire throne, chaos erupted. Shields failing on our left flank. We've lost 2 cruisers. Frigate Squadron Delta is gone. The Emperor gripped the armrests of his throne. They weren't even serious yet. On the Iron Horizon, Cole sipped his coffee. "Keep the pressure light," he told his gunnery chief. "We're here to make a point, not wipe them out." Yet, one of the gunners chuckled. "Understood, Admiral." Just enough to bruise their pride. The Imperial ships tried to regroup, but every time they formed a defensive line, the Terran fleet simply shifted, cutting through the formation with impossible speed. Terran fighters weaved between capital ships, disabling engines and weapon systems with surgical strikes. It was a chess game, and the Empire was already out of moves. Over in minutes, the Terran fleet moved as one. From the galaxy's point of view, it looked like a giant shadow shifting across the stars. Every ship, every fighter, every drone turned toward the Imperial line in perfect unison. On the Iron Horizon, Admiral Cole leaned forward in his chair. "Enough warm-up," he said. "End this." The first real volley came like a sudden storm. Railgun slugs the size of small cars tore through Imperial cruisers. Missiles with intelligent guidance weaved. between enemy defenses, striking engines and detonating deep inside hulls. Beam weapons sliced through shields like paper, leaving molten scars across golden armor. On the Sunfire throne, the Emperor clung to his armrest as the deck shook. "What's happening to our shields?" he demanded. An officer's voice cracked. They're ignoring them, Your Grace. Their weapons pass right through the frequency barrier." The Emperor's eyes widened. That's not possible. But it was happening right in front of him. Within the first 30 seconds, 10 Imperial warships were drifting in flames. By the first minute, entire squadrons had been wiped out. The Empire's tight formations dissolved into chaos as Terran. Ships punched holes straight through their lines. The broadcasts across the galaxy were stunned. We are seeing history here. The Imperial fleet is being dismantled piece by piece. Even neutral alien governments, who had feared Terran expansion, were silent as they watched the precision of the attack. Terran fighters swept in, weaving through the gaps like wolves hunting deer. They didn't just destroy, they disabled, targeting weapon systems and engines so that the ships floated helplessly. It was a show of dominance, a statement. We could have killed you, but we're choosing not to. On the Iron Horizon, Captain Mira Chun watched the tactical display light up with disabled enemy ships. "They're folding, Admiral. We could finish this in another 60 seconds. Cole gave a small nod. "Hold the kill shots. Make them live with this." A gunner smirked. "You're cruel, sir." "Only when they ask for it," Cole replied. The Imperial fleet tried a desperate counterattack. A group of heavy battleships surged forward, firing everything they had at the Terran flagship. Cole didn't even flinch. Intercept. 3. Terran destroyers slid in front of the Iron Horizon, their shields flaring bright as they absorbed the attack. A heartbeat later, they returned fire, and the battleships were gone. By minute 3, the battle was effectively over. The once glorious Imperial formation was a graveyard of drifting wreckage and powerless ships. Only a handful of vessels still had operational weapons, and they were quickly surrounded. On the Sunfire throne, the Emperor's voice was almost a whisper. How could this happen so fast?" No one answered. The bridge was silent, except for the alarms. Admiral Cole opened a channel to the Emperor. When the Imperial leader's image appeared, Cole leaned back in his chair, looking completely at ease. 3 minutes, Cole said simply. "That's how long your challenge lasted." The Emperor's jaw tightened. "This isn't over." Cole cut him off. "Oh, it's over. But I'm not going to destroy you. You'll go home, and you'll explain to the galaxy how you stood against the Terran fleet and got laughed off the stage." Then the channel went dark. The Terran fleet broke formation, drifting back into a loose spread. They didn't chase the retreating Imperial ships. They let them limp away, scarred and humiliated. The Emperor's humiliation. The Iron Horizon's comms array glowed with activity. Across the bridge, screens flickered as transmission lines opened to every major broadcast network in the galaxy. The Terran fleet wasn't just going to win. They were going to make sure everyone remembered it. Admiral Cole stood in front of the main holocom. His uniform was sharp, his expression calm but cutting. "People of the galaxy," he began, his voice steady. "Today, the Galactic Empire challenged the Terran fleet. You saw the result. 3 minutes. That's all it took." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. In the Imperial capital, millions watched the broadcast in stunned silence. Some had cheered when the Emperor declared war that morning. Now, they stared at their screens, wondering how their mighty fleet had fallen so quickly. Cole continued, "We could have destroyed them completely. Every ship, every crew, but we didn't. Why? Because humanity doesn't waste effort on broken opponents." The statement was both mercy and an insult. On the Sunfire throne, The Emperor sat rigid. The broadcast was playing live on his own bridge, his crew forced to hear every word. Cole's image leaned slightly forward. To the Emperor. Next time you think of testing us, remember this day. Remember the look on your own fleet's faces as their weapons failed. Laughter erupted on some of the Terran ship's comm channels. The sound was intentional, loud enough for the Empire to hear. It was the sound of a predator that didn't consider its prey a threat. Across alien worlds, reactions varied. Some races laughed openly at the Empire's humiliation. Others whispered in fear, realizing just how dangerous humanity truly was. For centuries, the Empire had been the unshakable pillar of galactic power. Now, cracks were visible. The Emperor finally spoke, his voice low but sharp. You will regret this. Cole didn't even smile. No, you'll regret starting this. The Terran broadcast ended abruptly. The transmission cut on humanity's turns. In the Imperial Court. Later that night, senators shouted for explanations. How could the fleet, a pride of the Empire, be dismantled so quickly? Some whispered treason. Others claimed the Terrans used forbidden technology. But none could deny the truth. The Empire's fearsome image was shattered. Meanwhile, in Terran space, the footage was replayed over and over. Clips of Imperial ships exploding in brilliant flashes flooded the net. The moment the Emperor's face fell in defeat became the most shared image in years. Back aboard the Iron Horizon, Cole met with his senior officers. They'll come back, Birachon said. Not soon, but they'll try. They will, Cole agreed. And when they do, they'll be twice as desperate and half as strong. A young lieutenant spoke up. Sir, you could have ended them today. Why didn't you? Cole looked out at the stars. Because fear is a better weapon than destruction. If they're gone, they can't tell the story. If they're humiliated, they'll tell it for us, and they'll make it bigger than we ever could. Somewhere deep in the Imperial Palace, the Emperor walked alone through the Hall of Triumphs. Statues of past victories loomed over him, each one a reminder of the Empire's former glory. Tonight, the hall felt cold and empty. For the first time in his reign, he wondered if the Empire's best days were behind it. The invitation to war, the galaxy did not sleep that night. Messages flew faster than light. The Emperor's humiliation spread across worlds, whispered in dark taverns, and shouted in open markets. The image of Terran ships cutting through the Imperial fleet was burned into every mind. In the Emperor's private war chamber, a circle of holograms flickered to life. Alien faces appeared, some old allies, some bitter rivals of the Empire. Yet all had one thing in common, fear of humanity. The Emperor's voice was low and urgent. They are too strong to face alone, but together we can break them. Some nodded. Others hesitated. One reptilian warlord hissed, "And if we fail? What then?" "Then the galaxy belongs to them," the Emperor said flatly. On the Iron Horizon, Admiral Cole studied the intercepted transmissions. It was exactly what he expected. "They're building a coalition," Mirachan said, sliding the data across the table. "Half the names on this list fought each other for centuries. Now they'll fight us together." Cole smirked. "Perfect. Saves us the trouble of hunting them down, one by one." The Terran High Command gathered in the War Dome, a vast, hollow sphere in Earth's orbit where battle plans were carved into light. Generals, admirals, and intelligence chiefs stood in a circle. At the center, the galaxy's star map glowed, dotted with red for enemy forces. "They're calling it the Alliance of Preservation," one intel officer said. "Preservation of what?" someone asked. "Their pride," Cole replied. The plan was bold. Instead of waiting for the Alliance to strike, humanity would invite them. A single message would be sent across every public channel, to every corner of known space. It would read, "To the Alliance, choose your battlefield. We will meet you there." Bring every ship you have. Bring every warrior. Bring every world's anger. Humanity will bring our laughter. When the message went out, the galaxy froze. Some thought it was arrogance. Others thought it was madness. But deep down, everyone knew it was confidence, the kind that comes from winning too many battles to count. In the Alliance Council chamber, leaders debated. The Emperor's advisors warned against accepting the challenge. It's a trap, one said. Yes, the Emperor admitted. But it is also a chance to crush them in front of the galaxy. If we refuse, we are already defeated. The vote was unanimous. The challenge was accepted. Back on the Iron Horizon, Cole received the reply. "They're in," Mira Chun said. Cole turned to the fleet display minus 700,000 Terran warships, each one ready for war. "They wanted a war worth remembering," he said. "Let's give it to them." In the weeks that followed, the galaxy transformed. Neutral worlds became staging grounds. Merchants sold weapons like food. Recruitment halls overflowed with alien volunteers, eager to be part of history, one way or another. On Earth, civilians prepared in their own way. Cities lit up in defiance. Banners hung from skyscrapers. For Earth, for the colonies, for the fleet. Even children played games pretending to command warships, their laughter echoing the same tone as their fleet's admiral. The day before the battle, Cole stood alone in the observation deck, looking at the endless sea of Terran ships. He thought of Alera Prime, of the ashes left behind, and of the promise humanity had made. Never again. Mira Chun joined him. "Do you ever wonder if we've gone too far?" she asked. Cole shook his head. "No, they started this. We're just writing the ending." Final scene. Cliffhanger for future stories. The battlefield was chosen, an empty star system at the edge of the Orion Arm. Both fleets arrived within hours of each other, their ships blotting out the stars. As the comm channels opened, the Emperor's voice came through. "This ends today," Cole smiled. "No, this begins today." The stars lit up as both sides fired. Fade to black.